Okay, so we're starting Parshas Korach, page 820. Now, the Torah is timeless. The Torah applies in all generations, and all aspects of the Torah apply. There are mitzvahs that apply, and there's what I always say when we get to Parshas Korach is this is something that applies on a personal level. You will meet Korach in your lifetime. You will meet Korachs. And in every community there's a Korach. In every shul there's a Korach. And everywhere you go there's always a Korach. In every work area there's a Korach. There's always a Korach. And I believe that that's the lesson of why the Torah spends so much time talking about it. It's because this is reality. This is what we experience in life. And I would even say some of us who aren't necessarily Korach have some Korach in us. There's a little bit of Korach in each person. So Korach takes, it says, let's say take the first pasuk here. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kaz ben Levi. Korach takes, and it doesn't say what he takes. And Rashi says he took himself off to the side. He went off to the side, meaning he went to the other side, meaning he rebelled. Vayikach Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kahas, the son of Levi, and it conspicuously leaves out Yaakov Avinu's name. V'dasan va'aviram b'nei Eliyav. Dasan and Aviram are there, so you obviously can't be good. Can't be good if Dasan and Aviram are involved. Ve'on ben Peles b'nei Ruvain. And On ben Peles, and these three were from the tribe of Ruvain. So Korach and Levi and Dasan and Aviram, and they go and they vayakumu lifnei Moshe v'anoshi b'nei Yisach chamishim u'masayim. They get up 500. They gather together 250 prominent men. You see, I'm just reading a couple of psukim because I just want to get the background because we're going to have to backtrack a little bit. And they start off and they come up with an argument against Moshe Rabbeinu. And the argument Rashi brings down in pasuk. Where is this? In pasuk Beis. Where is it in Rashi? I can't find Rashi pasuk Beis. Oh, he doesn't mention Rashi in pasuk Beis. There's no Rashi. It's at the end of Rashi in pasuk Aleph. Take a look at Rashi. It's the left column of Rashi, 3 lines from the top. He takes all these men, left column of Rashi, 3 lines from the top. It's right in the middle of Rashi. What did he do? Hilbishan talisa shekulan tcheles. He gathered, he put talises that are completely blue, tcheles. Bo'u amdu lifnei Moshe, and they stood before Moshe Rabbeinu. Amru lo, talis shekulo tcheles, chayeves b'tzitzis optura. A talis that's completely tcheles. The garment itself is tcheles. Does it need the strings? Or it doesn't? Amar lahem chayeves. Hischilu litzchokolav. He said the chayev. They started laughing at him. Efsher talis shall mean echad chut acher. Talis efsher talis shall mean acher. A garment that's a different species. Chut echad shall tcheles potra. One string of tcheles exempts it. Zu shekula tcheles latifter etzatzma. This one has all tcheles, won't exempt itself. The Medrash actually says it came with 2 arguments. It said to Moshe Rabbeinu, you got a garment that's fully tcheles. It needs a string. It needs another string of tcheles. If one string of tcheles, the naksa, is enough for a garment that's white. So if the garment is completely tcheles, so you don't need the strings at all. And if what do you call it? If you have a house full of svarim, does it need a mezuzah? You have a room full of svarim, does it need a mezuzah? If two paragraphs on a parchment could exempt the whole house, so if the house is full of svarim and it's got much more than 2 paragraphs, so the house should be exempted. That was their argument. We'll see what they were really saying. But let's go back for a second. Where do they start up with Moshe Rabbeinu? Where does Korach start up? So there are 2 things that just happened. There are 3 things that happened. The first was an appointment. When Moshe Rabbeinu, in Parshas Bamidbar, and Naso, when he appoints the head of the subsection of the tribe of Levi, a man of Kehas. So who does Moshe Rabbeinu appoint? A man named Elitzaphan ben Uziel. He's appointed to be the leader of the section of Kehas. Now, Korach gets upset about that appointment. Why? So the answer is, let's take a look on the board for a second. This is a fun, you need to know this. You have, oh, it's in my hand. I did that on purpose. You have Kehus. Kehus has, you have Levi. Levi has 3 sons, Gershon, Kehus, and Merari. And remember, Kehus, they carried the Aron Kodesh. Kehus has 4 sons, Amram, Yitzhar, Chevron, and Uziel. Okay, we're good so far? Did everybody see that? He has 4 sons. Now, Amram has 2 sons that got a prominent position. What are their names?
Moshe and Aaron.
Those are the ones. Moshe and Aaron. Now, logically, if there's another position available, who should get it? Well, the oldest son, his son's got the position. So the next son, his oldest son should get the next position. Yitzhar's next oldest son was a man named Korach. Yet, when there came an appointment to be the head of the subsection of Levi called Kehus, who got that appointment? It was Uziel's son, Elitzaphan. When Korach saw that he got skipped over, because Hashem told Moshe to appoint, it wasn't Moshe doing it himself, Hashem told Moshe, I want you to appoint Elitzaphan to be the head of the subsection of Kehus. At that point, Korach blew his gasket. I says, oh, whoa, what happened to me? What happened there? Amram's 2 sons got a position of prominence, and the next position should have been me, and I got skipped over. At that point, he loses his cookies, and he starts a complete rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. Which the underlying lesson here is it shows you how all it would have taken was one appointment. Well, one appointment. He could have been the head of Kehus, and none of this would have happened. He was insulted. He was jealous. He took it on the cuff. He didn't respond properly, and that leads to an entire rebellion and a denial of the authenticity of Moshe's prophecy and the Torah. I mean, he just goes absolutely stir crazy here. All because he felt slighted. Which is why I told you Korach applies in every generation. What about me? Right? And often in life, the reason people skip you is you're not qualified. If you saw the presidential debate, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I just saw, I looked at a clip of the presidential debate. I actually felt sorry for the guy. I actually felt sorry for the guy. And not only that, Trump, I've never seen him behave so much at his level, he was a gentleman. He wasn't the usual belligerent, even when he insulted without using 4-letter words, and he was, he wasn't quite the Chafetz Chaim, he isn't, but he looked much more, right, he looked much more distinguished, presidential, civil, than the other guy really looked like a doddering old man. You're wondering, well, why isn't anybody voting for me? Well, take a look in the mirror. So Korach, now that's a mistake over here. Korach was a great man. He was one of the Leviim who carried the Aron Kodesh. He carried the Aron Kodesh. That means he was a selected Levi. Even more. Korach was wealthy. There's an expression nowadays, the guy's rich like Korach. The Gemara says Korach had 300 donkeys carrying the keys to his treasure houses. Wow, that gets a wow. Yeah, I'll take one of those keys. Yeah, he has 300 donkeys carrying the keys. And the Gemara says there was a rich, now watch this. There was one wealthy man among the Jews and one wealthy man among the non-Jews. Who was it among the Jews? Korach. Who was it among the non-Jews? Haman. And look at the common denominator between them. Korach's got prominence. He's very high-ranking. He's a Levi. And even among the Levium, he's high-ranking. He carries the Aron Kodesh. And he's wealthy. He's got wealth. He's got plenty of honor. What was Haman? Wealthy. He had plenty of... Haman was the vice president of the world. He was the vice president of the world. Very powerful man. And what each one goes down. Why? He's bothered by something he doesn't have. Haman uses an expression, V'kol ze eino shoveli. None of it's worth anything to me, as long as that one lousy Jew Mordechai doesn't bow. What do you care about one Jew not bowing down to you? That costs you everything. What's Korach? Korach, you know what the word Korach means, by the way? Can I ask you to daven in the other room? I guess if you could...
Not davening, just probably put it on.
Okay. Korach is, what do you call it? Korach is, the word, the Gemara says there's a man who was married to two women. So the younger wife plucked out his gray hairs. The older wife plucked out his black hairs. So Gemara says between the two of them, he ended up kereach mikanu mikan. Between the two of them, he ended up bald. I'm only married to one, by the way, but he ended up between the two of them. I'm not talking about myself. He ended up between the two of them. He ended up bald. That's what the kereach. Korach ended up with nothing. He wanted everything. He ended up kereach. He ended up bald. Do you know, by the way, in the Gemara, do you know who's called the kereach, the bald one? And they go, who?
Rabbi Akiva?
Rabbi Akiva, correct. Rabbi Akiva is called the bald one. That was a code name for Rabbi Akiva because the Romans, he was a fugitive. He was running away from the Romans. So they referred to him as the kereach, the bald one. Nobody know who it is. Yeah, how do you like that? No nicknames, guys, for Rebbe's at Ohr Somayach, by the way. You know, going to who's Sherry and Rabbi Madelon? I'm by the bald one. You know, no. So what do you call it? What do you call it? So Korach ends up. He ends up. This is why number one, it applies to all of us. Sometimes I told you, is the cup half empty or half full? Sometimes people see it half empty, half full. And by the way, you know what you do if the cup seems half empty? Pour the contents into a smaller cup and all of a sudden it's full. So it's an attitude. And it's an attitude regarding himself that he feels a lack. And then there's another attitude, which is go rebel. Start a rebellion. And there's always a guy in every shul. What does a rabbi do all day anyway? There's always a guy, well, what does a rabbi do all day? Okay? What does a rabbi do all day? Rabbi's visiting sick people, he's taking phones, he's counseling. What do you do all day? Now, only he's worried about the rabbi. What does a rabbi do all day? Now, what does this guy do all day? This guy's like this all day long. He's like this. He's worried about what the rabbi does. What the rabbi. Then the shul wants to collect money. There's always somebody saying, well, what do I need all that money for? A bunch of ganuvim. There's always some crusty old guy who's upset about it. You know, there's a Korach in every building. If you ever lived in an apartment building, which is why, by the way, I moved to a four family entrance because I couldn't bear the thought of living in a 20 family entrance where everybody's got a say in it. There's always, if everybody says, you know what, we should paint the hallway. There's always one guy who's like, what do we need to paint the hallway for? You know, there's always that Korach. There's always that Korach. In every year, I've never been in a place without it. There's always that one guy he's got to be, and it's usually because everybody else wants to do it that way. Now, the background of this, number one, is Elitzaphan ben Uziel, that appointment. The question is, so why didn't Korach start hacking then? Why does Korach wait to hack now? Why didn't he hack back then? Why does he wait till right now? He starts the rebellion now.
Waiting for the opportunity.
What's the opportunity?
Weakness.
What?
Weakness.
What's the weakness? What's the opportunity?
We just found out news that they're going to be stuck.
Correct.
For 40 years.
Very good, Moshe. In other words, when Elitzaphan ben Uziel was appointed, the Jewish people were in the middle of having appointments and dividing up into camps. They were riding high. The team was doing well. That's not a time to start a rebellion. The economy's up. Don't rock the boat. But all of a sudden they find out, 40 years in the desert. Nobody's in a good mood. Time is ripe now. My brother and I used to have contests. who could be more annoying. Right.
You won.
And one. I mean, it wasn't even close. And gentlemen, you are looking at the reigning world champion. The then and now, and the talent, which I'm proud of. The talent was knowing when people are really vulnerable, and I had that ability. It's a born. I was born with it. And it's an ingrained. It's not something you can learn. But when you got it, then you practice it. You get good at it. Boy, was I good at it. Now, I could get my younger brother to tears by teasing him. It's knowing when he's most vulnerable. Then you come in for the kill. And it always ends with a fist. There was always a fist. So Korach is waiting for the moment. And it right now is not that, the economy's down. And what do you call it? And everybody's in a bad mood and grumpy. Now's the time to try to impeach somebody. Don't go impeaching a guy who, when the economy's up, it's not going to work. Don't go starting trouble when everybody's in a good mood. It's not going to work. Nobody wants to hear from you. Well, don't rock the boat. If everybody's cranky. Everybody's miserable. 40 years in the desert, and goodness knows what's going. You know what? Now's the time. Korach starts the rebellion. Okay. What came right before this? Tzitzit. What was the last thing? What was the last thing we learned about? Take a look. What's Korach's argument? If you got a talus, what's with the potatoes? What do you come up with the tzitzis argument for? What was going on here? Take a look at the last Parsha. So the last thing the Torah says, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe Labor, page 816. Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'amart aleim v'asulaim tzitzis al kanfei v'igdem l'dorosah al tzitzis ha'kedaf l'chetz. Okay, so you have the whole section of tzitzis over here. What is the tzitzis all about? So, the most basic idea is the proverbial string around the finger. You got to remind. It's the reminder. You look over here. I got my juice strings over here. That's a reminder. And the Torah that you'll remember all the mitzvahs. So you can't remember all the mitzvahs if you don't do all the mitzvahs. If you don't know the mitzvahs. But it's a reminder that there are mitzvahs to be done. So we have the tzitzis. Okay. By the way, the tzitzis is 7 strings with the string of blue that winds around it. Right. One of the strings is tcheles. I'm not going to go into the idea of tcheles. Nowadays, we lost the tradition of tcheles, and we have, even if it can be proven in a laboratory, most poskim, Rabbi Yashiv, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, the Stipler, all the major poskim hold it's not a laboratory thing. It has to be a word-to-mouth tradition, which we've lost. There's some sort of marine creature called a chilazon. And the chilazon was where they got the blue. This seems to be a navy blue, a dark blue color, and we lost the tradition of it. But at the time when the navy blue existed, by the way, we still have to put on tzitzis because of the Doro Sechem all throughout the generations. We lost the color, the navy blue. What does it represent? So the navy blue represents the blue is a reminder of the sea. The sea is a reminder of the sky. The sky is a reminder of God's throne. So what's the obvious question? Why not just put a color on, like the color of God's throne?
We don't know the color.
That's one problem. One problem is we don't know the color of God's throne. So we need a blue to the blue, and it's up there. So God's throne is somewhere. We don't know what color God's throne is, number one.
We need something to relate to.
So we relate to the blue sky, and the sky relates to God's throne. Okay, number one. Number two, Moshe Feinstein says it's a reminder, don't jump levels. We don't jump to the throne right away. First grow one level at a time. Okay. But there's another idea here. There are 2 ideas, vital ideas. One is these strings hanging loose represent the pathways of a person's life. And what's interesting is the first part of the tzitzis, this right over here, is wrapped tight. This is wrapped tight, the first third. And then the next 2 thirds are the strings that hang loose. This third that's wrapped tight represents that at the outset of our education, at the outset of our life, we all we're educated in the same schools and the same path. You go to day school, then you go to yeshiva, then you go off to yeshiva gedola, and we're basically walking the same path. But then we're going to spread, every individual is going to spread and going to find their area of life based on the fundamentals of Judaism. Then everybody's going to go off, and one guy's going to go work, and one guy's going to be in Kollel, and one guy's going to end up at Ohr Somayach, and he's going to end up in, what do you call it, in wherever, in Derech. And what do you call it? Everybody's going to go in their path. That's one of the ideas. The other idea is that this represents man's pathways through life. And the string of blue wrapped around it, which is a reminder of God's throne, is the idea that everything that happens to us in life is still being supervised by God. We're under God's jurisdiction. It looks like we're independent and we're dangling alone, we're off on our own. Realize that it's all with the blue string, and the blue string, that means that we're all under Hashem's supervision. That's the basic idea of tzitzis, but there's another idea here. The color blue, anybody remember where do we find tcheles? Somewhere in Nach we find tcheles.
In the Shema.
Where?
In the Shema. In the Shema.
In the Shema. Okay, that's the tcheles of the tzitzis, right? Where else do we find it in Nach? In Ksuvim, specifically. Mordechai yatsa lifnei hamelech b'levush malchus. Mordechai went out with royal garments. Tcheles ve'argomon. Mordechai, one of the colors of royalty is tcheles. And one of the ideas of the tcheles is a reminder that we're royalty. The king, we're royalty. Again, I have had non-Jews who have asked me about the Jew strings. It is enchanting for those who are not in the know. It is kind of, people kind of, as you walk past, it kind of just look at you. First of all, by the way, the rule is what we call the talis. Talis just means a garment. A talis is a garment. Shnayim ochazim betalis, the first mission in Bava Metzia. Shnayim ochazim betalis. A talis is a garment. We call the Shabbos one, the big one that we put on, that we wrap on, we call that a talis. But the reality is, tzitzis only goes on a four-cornered garment. If you have a four-cornered garment with got a hole in it, what we call the tzitzis that we wear underneath, the reason we put on tzitzis is because of the four-cornered garment. Theoretically, if you're not wearing a four-cornered garment, you don't have to have tzitzis on. It's not an obligation to have tzitzis. It's an obligation when you're wearing a four-cornered garment. You can't wear a four-cornered garment that doesn't have tzitzis on it. However, the halacha says we should obligate ourselves. And the halacha says somebody who doesn't wear tzitzis, you haven't violated a prohibition, but it says that when God brings retribution for other things, so he'll get you for the tzitzis too, for neglecting the tzitzis. And the Vilna Gaon, on his deathbed, the Vilna Gaon grabbed his tzitzis on his breath, that he was holding his tzitzis and he was crying. He said, such an easy mitzvah, tzitzis, how much does it cost already? A pair of tzitzis, 50 shekels, 60 shekels. And you wear them all day and you're doing a mitzvah all day long. Such an easy mitzvah, and where I'm going, I'm not going to be able to fill that mitzvah anymore. So there's no reason not to wear the tzitzis. Now, I'm not going to get into all the halachas of the tzitzis, but there is a crucial idea here. Take a look at the end, on the bottom of page 816. I want to show you a translation. I'm not sure if it's translated. V'haya lechem tzitzis, 3 lines from the bottom. V'haya lechem letzitzis u're'isem oso, you'll see the tzitzis, u'zachartem es kol mitzvos Hashem, v'asisem oso, you remember the mitzvahs and you'll do them. V'lo sasuru acharei levavchem v'acharei nechem. How do you translate that, gentlemen?
Don't go after your heart.
Don't go after your heart and after your... Usually it's translated as don't stray after your heart and after your eyes, right? But the truth of the matter is that we had earlier in the Parsha, the very first, in Parsha Shlach, the very first, when Moshe sent the people, what did he send them for? Losur, right? He sent Meraglim on page 798. Shlach lecha anoshim v'yasuru es eretz Canaan. Now that doesn't mean they should stray after the land of Canaan. It means they should explore. That's how the Ashker translated it. Explore, check out the land of Canaan.
Spy.
He translates spy. But here he translates, Velosa Surah, don't explore after your heart and after your eyes. Now most people translate it as don't stray after your heart and after your eyes. And the truth of the matter is, if it was don't stray, it wouldn't be spelled Losa Suru, it would be with a samach. Sar, samach resh, means to stray. Here, it says Velosa Suru, with a tough. Don't explore after arts after arts. What that means is, we wear the tzitzis as a sign of royalty. What we're given royalty. The Torah is royalty. Don't go checking out other areas, other philosophies. There's nothing there. If you're a prince living in a palace, what else are you looking for? There's nothing else. Where are you going to go looking? You're living in the lap of luxury. You're living with opulence. You're living in Windsor. So where are you going? You imagine you're living in England, and one of their palaces in England. What's it called? Buckingham Palace. You're living in Buckingham Palace. What are you going to do? Go over to the Jewish community to see what you're missing? Maybe there's a nicer house there in the Jewish community. Maybe there's a nicer house somewhere in Leeds. Right? Where are you going to go? You're in the ultimate. There's nothing to check out. Torah's telling you, you're royalty. We're royalty. We're wearing tcheles. It's a reminder of us, maintain your dignity, both in your morals, in your behavior, and maintain your dignity and realize that there's nothing to look for. There is nothing else out there. Where are you going to go? To Tibet? To eat rice and sit on a bed of nails for 6 months? Ooh, that sounds like fun. I can't wait not to do that. Right? So what are you looking for? Because that's what the Torah, Losa Surah. Don't go check it. Okay, spirit doesn't think it's right. You want to go. I'll stay home. You want to go. But there's nothing, I'm telling you, there's nothing there. Velosa Surah, there's nothing to check out. There's nothing to look for. Okay. So what does Korach do? Korach comes back to Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, I got a talus over here. You need tzitzis, a string where one of them is blue? What was Korach really saying to Moshe Rabbeinu? You got a house full of svarim. You need a mezuzah on the doorpost? What was Korach really saying to Moshe Rabbeinu? What was Korach really saying? Why does one guy have to stand out? Look at the next line he says. Look at Pasuk Gimel. Vayikalu. 4 lines from the top. Vayikalu al Moshe ve'al Aaron. They gather on Moshe and Aaron. Vayomra aleim. Rav lachem. You've taken too much. Too much honor and prestige. Ki kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim. The entire congregation is holy. Uvesocham Hashem. God's among them. We all heard the Torah being given. Umadua tisnasu al kal Hashem. Why do you lord yourselves? What do you guys take the positions for? We're all holy. We don't need a leader over here. That's what he was saying with the tzitzis. That's what he was saying with the mezuzah. He says, why does one have to stand out above the others? They're all equal. Why? I'll get to you 1 second. Why does a room full of svarim, why does one mezuzah have to be on the... We're all holy. We don't need a leader. Of course, overlooking the fact that what he really wanted was... But had he gotten the appointment, then it would have all been okay. Had he gotten that one appointment, then it's okay to have a leader, to have one guy stand out. But the minute, you understand, that's what happens when a person's consumed with jealousy, you become so unreasonable that you're almost what I call it like the proverbial overtired 2-year-old. You ever seen an overtired 2-year-old or 3-year-old? No matter what you do, you give him a candy, he throws it. He doesn't want anything. He doesn't know what he wants. All he needs is to go to sleep. So Korach is coming along and making a tumult and a fuss over here. And what he really wants is that he should be the leader. Then he say, we don't need any leader. No leader. We're all holy. Nobody should stand out. Nobody should be prominent over here. We're all holy. So there's I'll tell you, a shocker of a medrash. By the way, take a look at that first pasuk again. V'yikach Korach ben Yitzhar. You know what Yitzhar is? What is Yitzhar? We say it,
It's hard.
No, it actually stands for, one of the commentaries say, if you will put a little chick over there, then it stands for Yetzer Hara. That's how you write Yetzer Hara, those letters, right? Abbreviation, Yetzer Hara, Yitzhar. Korach is gripped by the Yetzer Hara. There's one of the commentaries, very good, Alan. One commentator says that. What were you going to, Aaron, what were you going to ask?
I was going to ask if they didn't, notice what happened to Miriam just previously.
It's an excellent question. And they saw what happened to the entire people. The entire people just got hit with 40 years in the desert. And one of the themes the commentaries say over here is that when a person is consumed, you lose your objective thought process. You actually convince yourself that you're right for this. Not only that, why does he pick a talus and why does he pick a mezuzah to start the rebellion? If he walked in with a piece of pork, nobody would take you seriously. Get out of here, you shagets. But when you're walking around with tzitzis and a mezuzah, we're from guys over here. This is all Hashem Shemayim. This is all to serve Hashem. Which is exactly why, actually a very important question. Why does the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, when it says, what's a machlokes l'shem Shemayim, and what's about the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, a dispute for the sake of heaven, sofa lihiskaye. The dispute is going to endure. In other words, the point of the dispute will carry out, that's Hillel and Shammai. It's a valid dispute. It's a machlokes l'shem Shemayim. And then the Mishnah says, and what's a machlokes not l'shem Shemayim? Korach and his entire congregation. That's a machlokes, that's not l'shem Shemayim. That's not to serve Hashem. I understand. If you read the Chumash over here, if you're familiar with the Parsha, so why does Pirkei Avos need to tell you that? That's pretty obvious. Isn't that blatantly obvious that it's not a machlokes l'shem Shemayim? So why does Pirkei Avos need to tell it to you for? Good question, right? What do you need to tell you it's for? You know what the answer is? Because he comes along with the tzitzis and a mezuzah, and we're all holy, and oh wow, the guy's a frum guy. Machlokes l'shem Shemayim. You know what the difference is? Where's the line between a machlokes that's with l'shem Shemayim or it's not l'shem Shemayim? Hillel and Shammai never got personal. It was only about an issue. There was no benefit for either side in the machlokes. I'm trying to understand the pshat and the Gemara over here. I hold the halachas like this, you hold the halachas like this. That's a machlokes, l'shem Shemayim. But once there's a benefit to be had, I disagree with you. I should be the leader. The big I got in there. Whether it's prestige, whether it's money, whether it's power, whatever it is. Once the you get personal over here and there's a benefit for you, then you have to suspect that's not l'shem Shemayim. So Korach comes along. So Yitzhar stands for the Yetzer Hara. Yitzhar, we always say in Kriyas Shema, we say V'asafta deganecha, v'siroshcha is your wine, v'yitzharecha is your oil, your olives, your oil. Korach is the son of Yitzhar. When he sees his father's name is oil, well, what happens to oil? Floats to the top. I should be on top. Kehas means gathering together. I'm the one who's supposed to gather the people together. I'm supposed to be the leader. I'm supposed to be the uniting force for the people. So in the name, Korach is, what do you call it? Ben Levi. He's the son of Levi. Listen, Levi means the one who is closest to God. You know, it should be me. You see what you can do when you know, the Gemara says Rabbi Meir had a disciple. Gemara says in Eruvin, Rabbi Meir had a disciple who could bring you 150 proofs why a reptile is a kosher creature.
Rav, right?
Huh?
Disciple was Rav. Disciple was Rav. No.
It says Talmid Vosik Hayolol Rabbi Meir. We doesn't say Rav. He had a Talmid Vosik. He had an elderly disciple. He could bring you 150 proofs to show you why what do you call it? A reptile is a kosher creature. There's only one problem. It's not. That's what happens when you distort things. Like if you could take data, you could distort it. Torah's got all the data. Now that Korach sees prophetically that Shmuel HaNavi is going to come from him. That's pretty. And not only that, it says Shmuel HaNavi, he's the counterbalance of greatness. He weighs like Moshe and Aaron. So Korach says to himself, listen, with a disciple like Shmuel HaNavi coming from me, a descendant like Shmuel HaNavi coming from me, it must be because I'm doing something right. That's a mistake. You know what the mistake? Why? If he's coming from me, that means I must have earned that privilege. And therefore I deserve this position of greatness. You know what he's overlooking? He's overlooking the fact that he is going to be, you know why Shmuel comes from him? Because Korach created a Kiddush Hashem. What was the Kiddush Hashem? He got swallowed. They made Kiddush on him. That's what happened. He got swallowed. Oh, when he gets swallowed, there's a Kiddush Hashem. You were a vehicle for Kiddush Hashem. Therefore, you have a descendant that we call Shmuel. But it wasn't quite the way. I thought, I must be doing something right. No, if you would have known in advance what the Kiddush Hashem was going to be, I don't think you'd be so excited about it. You'll make Kiddush challah instead of wine. Hey, you wouldn't be so happy about it. And so Korach misreads the data there too. And that's with the prophetic vision. He sees Shmuel's descendant from him. Obviously I'm doing something right. That's not correct. The fact that something doesn't mean it's something right. I see myself giving tzedakah one day. So therefore I must be doing something right. I go rob a bank. Doesn't work that way. You're misreading the data. It doesn't based on the future. So obviously I need to have money now to give tzedakah because I say I'm giving. Maybe if you wouldn't go robbing a bank, you're going to make a pile on the lottery, and then you'll give tzedakah. So you misinterpreted, you jumped the gun, you went to rob the bank. So Korach loses everything. All right, I was told to stop, or we have to stop because you have to hustle to the bus.